Okay, so we're going to start lying down on the mat today. So have a small head cushion or folded towel to support your head and neck, nothing too big. So just want to make sure your neck is comfortable. So a small folded towel is perfect. Rest yourself down onto your back. And then just bring your feet to hip width position. So you're going to just take your feet hip width apart, knees come hip width apart, and then just take a second to let your body rest down here in this position. And as you're here, I just want you to think about the soles of your feet resting down into the floor, the back of your pelvis being heavy into the mat here, and the back of your rib cage just widening into the mat. And we're going to take a couple of north and south tilts through the pelvis. So gently rolling your lower back towards the floor as though you're just slightly imprinting into the lower back, and then gently arching away from the floor. So we're going to just do these pelvic tilts, a couple in each direction or a few in each direction, just to mobilize the very lower back. If anything causes discomfort through the session, just ease off. So it shouldn't cause any pain or discomfort. So let's do two more of those, gently rolling your lower back towards the floor and then very gently arching your lower back away from the floor. So one more in each direction. And then I'm going to get you to settle in between those two positions. So somewhere in the middle where you're not imprinting your lower back into the floor, you're not arching away from the floor. You've got a natural lumbar curve underneath your lower back. And then from here, I'm just going to get you to draw in your tummy connection. So feel as though your abdominals are gently engaging, as though you're pulling your tummy away from your waistband. So you're setting the abdominals, and then we're going to lift the arms up to shoulder drop position, have the palms facing in towards each other, and just take your right arm all the way up towards the ceiling. Let that shoulder blade lift away from the floor and let it relax all the way back down again. So allow the shoulder blade to just flatten down towards the mat. And then the same on the left arm, so reaching the left hand up towards the ceiling and then releasing that shoulder blade. So just setting up the shoulders. From here, we're just going to do some shoulder mobilization. So having your palms facing in towards one another, just take your right arm down by your side, take your left arm overhead. So you're going to just reach through the fingertips in opposite directions and then come all the way back up to the top again. We're going to repeat in the opposite direction. So as we do this, we're trying to isolate the shoulders. So we're trying to get some movement into the shoulder joint. We're trying to keep the rest of the body nice and still. So relaxing your thighs, keeping that sense of heaviness into the back of your rib cage, the base of your rib cage, so that it doesn't feel as though your rib cage is moving or your back is moving as we do this arm movement. And you can add in a gentle neck rotation. So looking away from your top arm, turning your head, and then looking back up towards the ceiling as your arms lift. So just going to take this mobilization a few times more, just working into a comfortable range for you. So your arms don't have to meet the floor. In fact, they should stay a little bit higher than the floor here. And gently turning your head side to side. And then we'll just come back up to center. So looking up towards the ceiling, again, shoulder blades just sinking down into the floor. Keeping that gentle tummy connection pulled in. Let's take both arms overhead like you're holding a beach ball and then bring them back up towards the ceiling again. So again, just mobilizing a little bit more into the shoulders, making sure we've still got that tummy connection switched on. And then we're going to take it into some arm circles. So the arms start off going overhead and then keeping them within your vision, keeping them within your peripheral vision, just circling the arms around and then bringing them back up to the ceiling. Same again, so the arms go overhead, still within your view, and then circling around. We just take this twice more. So nice breath in as the arms come up. Exhale as they go overhead and circle around. And then just one more time, lifting the arms up, sending them overhead, and then just circling around all the time, just being able to see them out of the corner of each eye. And then resting your arms down on the floor here, we're going to take it up into some spine mobilization now. So making sure you can plant your feet into the floor, press your feet into the floor. We're going to take it back into that pelvic tilt we just did a moment ago. So think pubic bone drawing up towards the navel, lower back rolls towards the floor. And we're going to try and peel the spine away from the floor sequentially. So we're going to roll up the spine towards the shoulders. And we're going to come up and just hold it here at the top for a small breath. And then as we breathe out, we're going to roll our way back down again. So rolling through the spine, one vertebra at a time, coming back to rest on the floor. We're going to do that again. So a little bit of tummy connection to start with. We roll into our pelvic tilt. At that point, we just want to make sure that our glutes are switched on. So gently connecting your bottom, squeezing your bottom, and then rolling your way up the spine towards the shoulders. And we hold it here for a breath. We try and relax the shoulders here. We make sure that we're not lifting up too much through the rib cage. So think about your ribs staying quite tucked in, quite heavy, and that way we'll get a nice stretch through the front of the hips here. And then we're rolling our way back down, one vertebra at a time. And we're going to do a few of these just to get the mobility into the spine. And as you work up, so you're coming up in your own time, just notice if any areas feel a bit stiffer than others and concentrate on rolling through those areas. So we're trying to gain mobilization into the spine in this exercise. So those areas that don't get moved that much or are a little bit stiff, they're the ones that we're trying to work through. So in breath at the bottom, out breath as we find that pelvic tilt, we switch on the glutes and then we roll up towards the shoulders. In breath at the top, high as you can with the hips, but ribs soft, ribs tucked in, and then rolling our way back down, one bone at a time. And let's just come up one more time and we'll hold this one at the top. So we're going to roll up through the spine. We're going to hold this one at the top. We're going to bring the arms up into a shoulder drop position. Again, letting the weight of the shoulder blades just sink down into the floor. Let's take that scissor arm movement that we just did a moment ago. So we're going to try and keep the hips lifted. If you start to feel any hamstring cramps coming in and things like that, obviously resting down. But we're using the glutes, we're squeezing the bottom to keep us lifted here. And then let's take both arms up towards the ceiling. We'll send them both overhead and then take those arm circles. Try not to let your hips drop. So arms going overhead, circling around. And then one more time, lifting the arms up, sending them overhead, keeping them within your peripheral vision as they circle around, and then just letting them rest down on the floor so that we can roll out of that spine curl. We're going to take another breath in there at the bottom. We're going to come back up. So imprinting into your lower back, engaging your glutes, rolling up your spine. And then this time at the top, I'm going to get you to take your hands onto your hip bones. So we're going to try and keep the hips lifted and level with one another. And we're going to just take a heel lift, right heel peeling away from the floor and then lowering. And we're going to lift and lower, just like you're tapping your heel, lifting up and lowering. And it's a real gentle movement. It's a really small movement, but we're trying to keep that stability through the pelvis. So don't let your hips drop towards the floor. If you do feel them dropping, just come out of that spine curl and come back up. And then let's take it over towards the left heel. So now the right heel presses into the floor, the left heel lifts and lowers off the floor. So just doing these little beats all the time, keeping your hips lifted. So we're using those glute muscles to keep us lifted here. Belly button is just gently drawing in, shoulders and neck relaxed. And then just taking two more. And then let's lift both heels together and lower. Both heels lift and lower. And again, you're trying to keep your hips lifted all the way through. Let's just take two more of these. Hopefully feeling your glutes working in this exercise. And then let's keep the heels lifted as we roll down out of this spine curl. So just softening through the breastbone, rolling down through the spine. And then just relaxing your pelvis there at the bottom, relaxing the feet down. Let's come up for one more of those, combining those last two movements together. So scooping in your tummy, rolling into your lower back, rolling up your spine. Let's do the heel lifts first. So heel lift on the right heel. Let's go for 6. Shoulders relaxing. Belly button pulled in. And then going over to the second side. So heel lift, left heel. Right heel is pressing firmly into the floor. Hips are staying lifted and level. That's the toughest part of this exercise, is keeping the pelvis nice and level. And then let's do 6 doubles. So heel lift and lower. And as your heels lower, it's almost as though your hips are getting higher at that point. So heel lower gently down towards the floor. Imagine little threads on your hip bones pulling you up towards the ceiling. So as those heels lower, the hips aren't going anywhere. From there, let's place the heels down, pressing through both heels. Let's take it into our arm circles. So arms going overhead, circling around for 3. Nice and wide across the collarbones, arms within your peripheral vision. And then once you've done that third arm circle, you could keep the heels down if you want to, or you could lift them away from the floor as you roll out of that spine curl. Find your pelvic tilt as soon as you can, and then just rest your pelvis down there. Okay, so take the hands behind the head. So just sliding your head cushion out of your way. Elbows are within your peripheral vision, and we're going to relax the shoulders. I'm going to pull the tummy muscles in. So really feel as though you've connected your core, drawing your tummy away from your waistband. From here, we chin tuck. So we look down towards the knees, head lifts away from the floor, and then we curl up from the breastbone. So we're coming into a small curl up position. We're holding it there at the top, making sure we haven't lost that tummy connection, and then gently rolling our way back down again. So have a breath in at the bottom, breathe out as you chin tuck, lifting your head away from the floor. Nice sequential curl up. So it's not a crunch that you do at the gym, anything like that. It's much slower because we're trying to get a nice sequential movement up and down the spine. It's a mobility exercise. Inhaling here at the bottom, exhaling as we chin tuck. And imagine that your spine is getting longer. So from the crown of your head to your tailbone, your spine is getting longer as we come into that curl up. So we inhale, we try and relax the head and the shoulders at the top. And then we exhale as we come down. So we can add on a little bit. So your tummy is pulling in, your head and shoulders are lifting away from the floor. We've got that length from the crown of the head to the tailbone. So we're not thinking about just curling up very high. We're keeping the length through the body. And then from there, let's do a heel lift. So one heel lifts away from the floor and then lowers. Second heel lifts away from the floor and lowers. And we're just going to work through these heel lifts a couple of times. Just make sure that it feels comfortable. Your pelvis stays heavy into the floor. So keep thinking about the weight going through your pelvis. And we're just going to do one more heel lift to each side. And then we're going to roll down out of that position. In breath again at the bottom. Let's take an out breath to curl up. So we chin tuck, head and shoulders lift away from the floor. If that all feels comfortable, we could take it a little bit further. Heel lift and then bring that leg up into the air into a knee fold. And then bring that foot back down again. And then same on the second side. So heel lift, single knee fold, and then lightly place that foot down on the floor. So we're peeling the feet away, doing a single knee fold, and then lowering down. And we want to make sure that we've still got that abdominal connection, still pulling in the tummy muscles. Elbows are wide within the vision, within your line of vision though, so within your peripheral vision. Let's do one more, and then we'll gently roll out of that position. We can take it a little bit further if you feel okay to. So breathing in here, breathing out as we chin tuck, scooping in your tummy, curling up. You can always stay with one of the previous versions. So you can do a curl up by itself. You can do a heel lift here, a single knee fold. Or if you feel okay to add on a little bit more, we take it from a single knee fold. We engage even more through the abdominals as we bring the second leg into a double knee fold. And let's just hold it here and lower the top half of the body. So we roll out of curl up. We take a breath in at the bottom. We breathe out as we curl up again. In breath to hold it there at the top, and out breath to lower. In breath at the bottom, out breath as you make sure your tummy is pulled in. We're curling up, we're inhaling to hold it at the top here, and then we're exhaling as we roll it back down. Keep the tummy muscles drawn in as we do that. We can take it a bit further still. So we curl up, we hold this position now at the top. We're going to tap one foot towards the floor and then bring it back up again. We're going to tap the second foot towards the floor and then come back up again. And as you do this movement, we're trying not to move anything other than that hip joint. So the hip is moving, but everything else is staying quite still. So your upper body is staying lifted, your belly button is staying pulled in, your head is heavy in your hands. Let's do another 4 of these. So try not to sink out of that curl up. Keep pulling your tummy away from your waistband. So we've got those deep abdominals still switched on. And then last one on each side. And then we take one foot all the way down to the floor, nice and softly. Second foot all the way down to the floor softly. And then roll out of that position. And just slide your head cushion back underneath your head. Let's take the arms wide, feet and knees together. And we're going to take it into a hip roll from here. So sending both knees over to your right. Your left foot is going to lift away from the floor completely. Knees are going to stay together. The left hip lifts away from the floor. And we just hold that position. So rotation all the way up the length of the spine. And we could add in some neck rotation, just looking towards your left hand. So looking away from the knees. And then looking back up towards the ceiling, finding that abdominal connection to help roll the knees back into center. Let's take it the other way. So the knees rock over to your left. Right foot lifts away from the floor completely. Right hip lifts away from the floor completely. And we take our gaze towards the right hand. And then coming all the way back into center. Let's repeat it. So exhale as you rotate over. And inhale as you come back. And again, you're just working into your range of movement. So you're not really trying to get the legs down towards the floor. We're trying to get this sequential rotation down the spine. So the legs aren't just dropping down. We're rotating them over. We're controlling how far they go using that abdominal connection. And we're controlling the roll back, initiating from the core. So let's do one more to each side. And if it feels like a good stretch, you can hold it down there for a moment or two. Again, it shouldn't cause any discomfort into your back. If it does, just keep the legs a little bit higher. Don't take the knees so low to the floor. And then you're just rolling all the way back into center. Relax the arms there, and we're just going to come over into a side lying position. So just set yourself up with your cushion or towel just in between your head and your arm. And we're just going to take some oyster exercises here, or you might know them as clam. So nice straight line from the hand all the way down through the spine to your tailbone. Feet are just in, or heels are in line with your tailbone. Let's bring the feet away from the floor. So you're just going to tip forward slightly through your pelvis as though your top hip is just shining downwards slightly towards the mat. And then we lift the top knee from there and then lower. And we're just going to do a few of these. Lifting and then lowering, heel squeeze as we bring the leg up. And we just want to make sure that we're not dipping into the waist at all. So keep the length through both sides of your waist. Imagine you're narrowing your waist. You've got a really tight belt around your waist and you're just having to lightly draw in your tummy. Good stuff. Let's do another 5 here. Squeezing through the heels. 3 more. 2. And let's hold this last one at the top. So again, we squeeze through the heels. We make sure the hips are still stacked and this top hip could be slightly angled forward still. And then we just do little pulses here at the top. And then all the way down, let's come all the way back up again for 5. So lifting and lowering, lifting lowering. 3 more. And 2. And then again, holding this one at the top, heels squeezing together, that top hip bone still slightly angled forwards, tummy scooped in and pulsing for 10. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then we rest that knee down and we rest the feet down, and we'll just come over and do exactly the same on the other side. So again, setting yourself up on the second side or rolling over onto your other side. Arm outstretched, nice straight line all the way down your spine from your fingertips to your tail. Feet and heels are back in line with your tailbone, and then we lift the feet away from the floor. So again, narrowing the waist, and then we come up and then lower. So we lift and lower. And you can always just take your hand onto your top hip just to make sure it's stacked. As the leg lifts, we don't want to feel that we're rocking backwards. We want to get all of this movement from the hip joint. So heels squeezing together, tummy gently drawing in. Let's do another 3 here. And again, we'll hold this one at the top. We'll take 10 little pulses. So making it a really nice, precise movement at the top. So we're using the bottom muscles, making it really precise, trying not to move through the rest of the body. So the waist stays still. Last one. And then lowering down, lifting for 5. So we come up for 5 more and then lower. 4, squeezing through the heels. 3, narrowing the waist. And again, let's hold this one at the top. Let's do those 10 little pulses, squeezing the heels, nice, precise little movements to try and control that movement as you lift from the hip. Let's do another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then rest the knee all the way down, rest the feet down from there. So I'm going to come into a front lying position next. We're just going to take the cobra exercise. So if you have any low back discomfort lying on your front, you could take your towel or head cushion and just have it right underneath your tummy. So if you need that support, just have it underneath you here. Going to come down to lie on our front. And we're going to have the arms in a YW position. So palms facing down onto the floor. Let's take the legs to about hip width position and just rest your forehead down here. So I'm just going to get you to do a little rock from your pelvis, just gently rocking your hips side to side, trying to relax the lower back. And then just still your body and feel your tummy pulling away from the floor. So you're setting your abdominals in this position as well. From here, I want you to think about a little thread coming off the end of your tailbone. And that thread is just gently drawing your tailbone down towards your heels. You might feel your bottom muscles engaging slightly. That's fine. So abdominals are set. Glutes are gently drawn or switched on. And then we're going to roll the nose forwards like you're pushing a little marble along the mat with your nose. Then we lift the head away from the floor and we keep fairly low to the mat because I want you to keep thinking about your core connection, staying switched on through the abdominals and the length going from your tailbone down towards your heels. And at that position at the top, so we don't lift very high, we're going to just try and relax the arms. We're going to try and keep the arms switched off, so we're not using the floor to help us lift. And then we're going to gently rest back down again. So keep those abdominal muscles set. Keep the tailbone gently drawing away from you. Let's come back up again. So the nose rolls forwards, the head lifts, and the chest lifts away from the floor. And we hold that position there, still lengthening away with the tailbone, relaxing the shoulders, and just holding that position there. So fairly low to the floor. Rather than looking out in front of you, make sure that you're looking down at your mat like you've got a peach in between your chin and your chest. And we hold that position just for a moment, and then we rest our way back down again. So we have a breath in there at the bottom, abdominals are set, tailbone lengthening away, rolling the nose forwards and lifting the head and chest away from the floor. So naturally, most of us will come up quite high, or try and feel as though we're coming up quite high in this exercise. So I want you to stay low into it. I know you'll be able to lift higher than we're doing, but I want you to keep it quite low, and all the time think about that thread on the end of your tailbone, just pulling your tail away from you. You could think about a beam of light on your breastbone or your collarbones, and that's just gently shining away from your tail, shining away from you towards the front of your mat. And then just gently resting your way down again there. Let's take another 2 of these. So again, abdominals pulling in, tailbone drawing away, head and chest lift. And then we hold that position at the top. We try and relax the arms. Abdominals are still pulled in, tailbone lengthening away, collarbones wide and lengthening forwards towards the front of your mat. And just take a small breath in here. And then as you breathe out, stay lifted, but just try and relax even more. Let your body become heavier into the floor. And then gently releasing all the way back down again. Last one. So inhaling at the bottom, tailbone drawing away. Exhaling as you come up. So it's, again, controlled movement, sequential movement of the spine. Relaxing at the top, tummy still drawn in, shoulders relaxed, breastbone shining forwards. And again, just holding that position there. Starts off feeling fairly small movements. And it is a small movement, but you might feel more mobility as you do this. You might find it easier to come up to this position the more reps that we work through. So we're just going to gently rest our way back down again there. We're going to bring the hands underneath the shoulders and then just press yourself up into a 4-point kneeling position. So your hands are underneath your shoulders, your knees are underneath your hips. We're going to take it into a cat stretch. So taking a breath in here. And then breathing out as you tip your pelvis underneath you. So think about your pubic bone coming up towards your navel. You're opening up into your lower back. Then we're rolling a little bit higher into the mid back. And then we're letting the head tip forward. So we're looking back towards the navel. Relaxing through the shoulders, scooping in through your tummy. So imagine that you've got a thread from your belly button. It's being lifted up towards the ceiling. And then we lengthen our way back out again. You could stay with this cat stretch, or you could take it up into downward dog. So we scoop under, we find that cat stretch to start with. And if it feels like a good stretch, then let's just hold that cat stretch. If you want to take it into downward dog, we tuck the toes under, we hover the knees just away from the floor, and then we lift the hips up towards the ceiling, like your hips are being pulled up by a string. In that position, shoulders aren't over the wrists. We want to bring the shoulders back, so it's a bit of shoulder flexibility. We're pressing the heels down towards the floor. And again, you don't have to reach the floor with those heels. They might feel like they're quite far away from the floor, but it's just that sense of pressing gently through the heels to stretch out the back of the legs. We could walk through the feet here a couple of times. So heel press, one heel at a time, nice and wide across the shoulders. So hopefully it doesn't feel like your shoulders are lifting up to your ears. Keep them nice and open, nice and wide. And then taking both heels down to the floor, let's lift them both up together, and then let's bend the knees. And before we place the knees down, just try and find that rounded cat position. So you're tucking your tailbone underneath you, you're scooping in your abdominals, the knees rest down onto the floor, and then we release back into a neutral position. And if it's comfortable, just widen the knees and sit back towards your heels. So tucking your tail underneath you, sitting back. Any knee complaints, if that doesn't feel good in this position, then just take a comfortable rest position. And we just walk the hands, walk the fingertips forwards, like you're trying to create even more space down through your sides. Breathing in here. And then as you breathe out, just scoop in your tummy and drag your arms back in towards you, coming up to a kneeling position. Just give the shoulders a roll off and then come into a sitting position. So comfortable seated position, perhaps long frog with the legs, so soles of the feet towards each other, knees resting out to the side. Again, doesn't have to be too close in. I'd rather you just sit up as tall as you can. So if it's easier to do this one on a small block, then just finding a block or a cushion to sit on so that you can sit up really nice and straight. Crown of the head is pulling up towards the ceiling and arms just resting down. We're going to take a side bend. So reaching your right arm up towards the ceiling, make it a really lifted side bend as though your waist is getting longer as you come over into that stretch. And then coming all the way back up to the top. And then same on the left arm. So the left arm reaches up. We try and keep the shoulder down away from the ear. And then we come over into that lifted side bend. So it might not feel that you're moving that far, but I just don't want you to slump into this. I want you to feel as though you've got threads on the fingertips, threads on the crown of the head. And then we come all the way back up to center. So again, tall seated position, belly button drawing in, right arm coming up and sweeping over, as though the right side of your rib cage is trying to reach up towards the roof in this stretch. And then coming back into center. Last one with the left arm. So we come up and over. And then just back up to center there. Just give the shoulders a little roll out. We're going to just finish off with a corkscrew arms movement. So again, nice tall seated position. Float both arms up towards the ceiling into a high V position. At that point, try and make sure the shoulders aren't up by the earlobes. Try and relax those shoulders down. And then taking your head into your hands, put a gentle bit of pressure through the back of your head into your palms. And at that point, I want you to be able to see each elbow in the corner of your eye. And then let's shrug the shoulders up to your ears. So let them glide up towards the ears and then let them fall away again. We're going to open the elbows a touch wider and lift the chin towards the ceiling. So you're just opening up through the neck and then restack. We'll bring both arms up towards the ceiling and press the palms down. Feel as though you're growing taller into this position. And we're there for today, guys. Well done.